Okay. Just making sure that this thing would start recording at the. I'm gonna wait until this thing gives me the 5G. It really doesn't need to be. I can just do it with the regular. Oh, there's no password for that, is there? Well, that's interesting. There we go. Okay. That's the reason why I've never been able to get that to work. Okay. Safari. Index. Say this year's model Elvis Costello lyrics. We need to be able to do a Google on this, and I think one of the problems is that I'm using a VPN, and because I'm using a VPN, Google's coming up claiming that I'm a bot, which is incorrect. Let's try it with going through. Let's try to go through the VPN and see if that fixes it. If that doesn't, then I'll take it out of the VPN. So Google. www.google.com. Okay. It thinks that I'm Dutch, so it's giving me Dutch language. I have to tell it I don't want English. I'm not a robot. All the vehicles. Next. Bicycle. Next. Bus. Bus. I hate these human check things. Almost never work. Okay. So Elvis Costello, this year's model songs. Okay. So this got this year's girl, radio, the beat. The beat, I think, is about masturbation. We can do it. I'll just do it. Oh, does it have lyrics? No, they're not giving lyrics. So forget it then. Oh, I know radio off the top of my head. I can sing that without lyrics. So. No. I was tuning the light, not doing anything. The radio advised. Hey, let me go and check those lyrics because I always sing them wrong. Radio. I was tuning the I was tuning the lighted late night dial doing anything. I think that's what it is. It's Elvis. Whoops. Radio lyrics. Elvis Costello. Put Costello on there, that'll give it a clue. What are you doing? starts out, I was tuning in the shine. Okay. I don't care. I accept. Okay, whatever. I was tuning in the shine of the light night dial, doing anything my radio device. Okay. I was tuning in the shine of the light night dial, doing anything my radio advised. With every one of those late night stations playing songs, bringing tears to my eyes, I was seriously thinking about hiding the receiver when the switch broke because it's old. They're saying things that I can hardly believe. They really think we're getting out of control. Radio is a sound salvation. Radio is cleaning up the nation. So they say you better listen to the voice of reason. But they don't give you any choice because they think that it's treason. So you had better do as you were told. You better listen to the radio. I want to bite that hand that feeds me. I want to bite that hand so badly. I want to make them wish they never seen me. Some of my friends sit around. Is it some of my friends? Or is it most of my friends? Some of my friends sit around every evening and they worry about the times ahead. But everybody else is overwhelmed by indifference and the promise of an early bed. It's either shut up or get cut up. They don't care about it. No, it's either shut up or get cut up. They don't want to hear about it. It's only inches on the reel to reel. But the radio was in the hands of such a lot of fools trying to anesthetize. Is it anesthetize? It's trying to anesthetize the way that you feel. Radio is the sound salvation. Radio is cleaning up the nation. So you say you better listen to the voice of reason. But they don't give you any choice because they think that it's treason. So you'd better do as you were told. You better listen to the radio. Wonderful radio. Marvelous radio. Wonderful radio. Radio. That was the song that Elvis Costello sung on Saturday Night Live in defiance against the radio industry, and they would not bring him back on the show until I guess in the 90s, or maybe even before then. But the Beastie Boys were on, and this video's up on YouTube. And the Beastie Boys come on, and they say they start playing Sabotage, and then they say there's no reason for us to play this right here, and out comes Elvis Costello, and they all take the drums and guitar and they all sing radio, so let me see. So there was there's no action. Every time I've been wanna beat you down. It's just a telephone junkie. There's no action. There's no action. Won't make me a miracle man. Yeah. Oh, the angels want to wear my shoe. Oh, I love that song. And I want to learn it too. Elvis Costello, Angels. Want to wear my shoes? There we go. AZ lyrics is pretty good. The only thing I hate about them is they center the lyrics, which kind of makes it hard for you to figure out. Well, it's not that hard. It actually does make it easier for you to know where the next lyrics are. So it says, oh, I used to get disgusted. Now I try to be amused. But since the wings have got rusted, you know the angels want to wear my red shoes. But when they told me about the side of the bargain, that's when I knew that I could not refuse. And I won't get any older now, the angels want to wear my red shoes. Oh, I was watching while you dancing away. Our love got fractured in the echo and sway. How come everybody wants to be your friend? You know that it still hurts me just to say it. Oh, I know that she's disgusted. Oh, why is that? 'Cause she's feeling so abused. Oh, that's too bad. She gets tired of the lust. Oh, I'm so sad that that's so hard to refuse. How can you say that I'm too old when the angels have stolen my red shoes? Oh, I said I'm so happy I could die. She said drop dead, then left with another guy. That's what you get if you go chasing after vengeance. Ever since you got me punctured, this has been my sentence. Oh, I used to be disgusted, and now I try to be amused. But since the wings have got rusted, you know the angels want to wear my red shoes. But when the red shoes, the angels want to wear my red shoes. Red shoes, the angels want to wear my red shoes. Red shoes, the angels want to wear my red shoes. And let me see. Oh, Mystery Dance is a fun one too. Elvis Costello, Mystery Dance. I actually used to know the lyrics to that by heart, man. Romeo was restless, he was ready to kill. He jumped out of the window 'cause he couldn't sit still. Juliet was waiting with a safety net, and he said, don't bury me 'cause I'm not dead yet. Why don't you tell me about the mystery dance? I want to know about the mystery dance. Why don't you show me it? 'Cause I've tried and I'm still mystified. I can't do it anymore and I'm not satisfied. I can't do it anymore and I'm not satisfied. Well, I remember when the lights went out, I was trying to make it look like it was never in doubt. She thought that I knew and I thought that she knew, but both of us were willing, but we didn't know how to do it. Why don't you tell me about the mystery dance? I want to know about the mystery dance. Why don't you show me? 'Cause I've tried and I'm still mystified. Can't do it anymore and I'm not satisfied. Well, I was down under the covers in the middle of the night, trying to discover my left foot from my right. You can see those pictures in any magazine, but what's the use of looking when you don't know what they mean? I want to know, why don't you tell me about the mystery dance? Why don't you tell me about the mystery dance? Why don't you show me? 'Cause I've tried and I'm still mystified. I can't do it anymore and I'm not satisfied. I can't do it anymore and I'm not satisfied. I can't do it anymore and I'm not satisfied. I can't do it anymore and I'm not satisfied. Well, there's another Elvis Costello CD in here, so I might as well do that one too. And this one is Armed Forces. That one. So and we'll do it in the same video because I'm on 4K. In 4K you can do long videos in 4K. Alright. So now I have to find the album for this one. You know, I really think I said the songs this year's model, you know what? I think it didn't give me the actual lyrics to the CD. So Elvis Costello, Armed Forces songs. So that should give me what's on Armed Forces. Oh, I love Green Shirt. I'm gonna do Green Shirt. Elvis Costello green shirt. Go. I spelled his name wrong. There's a smart young woman in a light blue screen comes into my house every night. Dun, 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 dun. And she takes all the red, yellow, orange, and green and she turns them into black and white. But you tease and you flirt and you shine all the buttons on your green shirt. You can please yourself, but somebody's gonna get it. Better cough off all the identifying labels before they put you on the torture table. 'Cause somewhere in that Quisling clinic there's a short time typist taking seconds over minutes. No. Ta-ta-ta-ta. She's listening into the Venus line. She's picking out names. I hope none of them are mine. But you tease and you flirt and you shine all the buttons on your green shirt. You can please yourself, but somebody's going to get it. Never said I was a stool pigeon. Never said I was a diplomat. Everybody is under suspicion, but you don't want to hear about that. 'Cause you tease and you flirt and you shine all the buttons on your green shirt. You can please yourself, but somebody's going to get it. Better send a begging letter to the big investigation. Who put these fingerprints on my imagination? You tease and you flirt and you shine all the buttons on your green shirt. You can please yourself, but somebody's gonna get it. You can please yourself, but somebody's gonna get it. Oh, Oliver's Army. We need to sing that one. And it's got the N-word in it, by the way. Oliver's Army. I almost know it by heart, but I'm gonna Oliver's Army. Elvis. Go. There we go. I had to put the apostrophe in there, and otherwise it won't know what you're talking about. Okay. Don't start me talking. I could talk all night. My mind goes sleepwalking when I'm putting the world to right. Called careers and all career is information. Have you got yourself an occupation? Oliver's Army is here to stay. Oliver's Army are on their way, and I would rather be anywhere else than here today. There was a checkpoint, Charlie. He didn't crack a smile, but it's no laughing party when you've been on the murder mile. All it takes is one itchy trigger, one more widow, one less white nigger, and his army is here to stay. All of his army are on their way, and I would rather be anywhere else but here today. Hong Kong is up for grabs. London is full of Arabs. We could be in Palestine, over by the Chinese line, with the boys from the Mersey and the Thames and the Thames. But there's no danger. It's a professional career. Well, it could be arranged with just a word in Mr. Churchill's ear. If you're out of luck or out of work, we could send you to Johannesburg. Oliver's army is on the way. No, Oliver's army is here to stay. I'm in the wrong key. Oliver's army on the... And I would rather be anywhere else than here today. And I would rather be anywhere else than here today. And I would rather be anywhere else than here today. Whoa, ho, ho, ho. Ha, ha, ho. Ha, ha, ho, ho. Okay, now I did use the N word, but you have to analyze these lyrics slowly. He says, only takes one itchy trigger, so somebody's about to fire the gun, one more widow, one less white nigger. And what he's talking about there is he's not talking about, that's the reason why he says less white. One less white nigger is what he, there should be a dash between one less and white nigger. It's he put white in front of it to let you know he's not talking about a black person. What he's talking about is he's talking about a soldier. And by using the word nigger, he's trying to get you, he's trying to bring your attention to just to the terribleness of what war is, and that is that all it takes is one itchy trigger. You kill this guy who's a slave to his country to try to bring peace or whatever, and war, does it ever really bring peace? And so that's kind of what Elvis Costello is thinking in his head. It says all it takes is one itchy trigger, one more widow. You just made a widow, and one less white nigger, one less guy, one less soldier. That's the reason why he says white nigger and not black, okay? Because he's not talking about a black person. And I'm trying to redefine that N-word as being slave. That's on the Dick Cavett show, John Lennon said with his wife by his side, said, woman is the nigger of the nigger. And what he was really meaning is, what he was saying, he said that because he knew it would prick up people's ears, and then they would be like, oh, he said the N-word. And what he was saying was, he's saying that woman is the slave to the slave. That is, the man works for the big man and comes home, and then she's subject to that guy, So she doesn't have the capacity to actually go out and get work, because the way people perceive her is that if she's out working on her own, then they can say all kinds of nasty stuff about her, but all she's trying to do is have a life on her own. Our culture should have grown up at this point to allow women to take on the same jobs as men. And so that was kind of what John Lennon was saying, he's saying that women, a suffrage movement started 100 years ago, and still we're at this issue of whether or not women can work in the same field as men. It's actually becoming the case now, but when he said that, it was like 1970, and he was on the Dick Cavett show. And we still have this issue with black people, not having rights and treating them as less than citizens. And the thing we don't understand is this America would not exist if it weren't for these slaves that we brought in against their will. We essentially raped the entire black nation, the entire African nation. We brought those people. They were fine where they were, but we saw them as a resource. We saw the ones that were in the tropics. We saw these people as being like animals, and we treated them like animals. I mean, our forefathers or whatever, the people that wrote the Declaration of Independence. It's well known that George Washington had his own slaves. He had a slave, and he put out a bounty for him, and he said dead or alive, pretty much. And that was one of our founding fathers. So painting this pretty picture of our founding fathers, and you know, you must not forget that they had their faults too. And so, and the wall in Wall Street was erected by black slaves. However, this wall was not that big, and it was about 6 or 7 black slaves that erected it, is what I heard. But that's where the wall in Wall Street came from, and the capital that Wall Street worked on back then was the trading of slaves. The trading of slaves is the capital on which people created their wealth. And so we owe a lot to native and even non-native black people because we treat them unfairly, and we still do. I mean, the policemen still do. And in Los Angeles, due to segregation in Los Angeles, the police officers kept the blacks and the whites separate. And I forgot what the lane was. There's a certain road that they could not cross, and if they were found on the wrong end of that road, then they would be pushed back to where and the primary target of the policemen were the young black males, and there's a whole documentary about that. But the thing is that black people, just as the way, you know, Trump makes Mexican people look like being criminals, like we're bringing criminals over whenever we don't properly process these people. We assume that everybody has an intent to do wrong, and the truth of the matter is we've all got empathy in us, and we all are concerned about doing the right thing. And when people paint a picture of somebody else as being less than human, you have to wonder if those people are human at all either. And so Trump used that wall and that whole thing with the border to make us put fear into us. And when you put fear into anybody, it stresses them and it causes their cognitive efficiency to go downhill. And they are not able to actually reason. They will just regurgitate the same stuff that Trump said. And these are the same people that are failing to get vaccinated, and they're getting put in the hospital for COVID because they just don't know who to trust. And because they're so stressed out, they just don't think clearly. They don't do research. They do whatever their friends do because they don't have time enough to determine the politics or the state of affairs, and the country's just totally out of control. And but you know, you can't really control what you don't have control over, and to seek control over things you can't control is kind of lying to yourself. I mean, the only thing you can do is hope and pray that it gets fixed, and then just go on about your day, relinquish the stress, and you will be thinking more clearly, and you'll be more focused on the things you need to do during the day. It's easy for me to say I don't really have much to do, but it isn't to say that I don't think. I have in my head the solution to integrating healthcare informatics of clinics and hospitals. And the problem is that they use what are called master patient IDs or master records. And anytime you integrate one clinic with another clinic or hospital, you have to use the master ID of the hospital that you're joining to, and then you have to find the records that relate to the records that are in their systems. And so it just takes really long to integrate it all together. There's no way that during a pandemic that you can track people through all the records that are available across the country, because there's no integration system for that at all. What they use is they use social security numbers, but if you are on the side of the road and you lost your identification information, your name and such, how are they going to determine who you are? And the solution to that problem is to use a combination of identifiers, to use name, address, what are called ID9s in the healthcare informatics world, to use biometrics, eye color, blood type. And when you bring all of these things together, the more information there is, the better it's going to identify you, and the better it's going to be for them to search through all of the hospitals and find your records. Now, which records are they going to pull back? How are they going to? How are these records going to get back to the doctor? Is the doctor going to get all the records? No, it's going to depend upon the certifications that the doctors hold and the rights that you give the doctors that are not your doctors to have access to your records. And so every clinic you would have to go to, you would have to verify if they could have access to your healthcare records with your family physician. You kind of do that anyhow now, but they have to get your permission to get access to the paper records, and then they have to figure out where your family physician is. There's no way for someone to do this that's authorized to do such that you've given authorization to the general public whenever somebody's trying to deal with your healthcare. There are politicians that don't want to give people in general access to their healthcare information, and so they're going to have more control over what gets out and what doesn't get out. And it's really up to each person to determine how to do this. And what they have to do is they have to centralize the control for your healthcare records, so that all of those systems that hold your healthcare records can determine what the policy is that by which they can release information and to whom they can. And I thought this stuff out a long time ago, and there's no way that I can ever do it myself because I don't have the money. The idea is up there. The technology exists. It's very easy to understand. It's in the Corba OMG Object Management Group website. It's called PIDS. Then there's another one called COAS. It's COAS. Then there's HILS. I think HILS is in there. HILS. Then there's a number of them, and these were all Corba wrappers. A wrapper is something that wraps a system and makes it work to a specified model of interaction. And it specifies the protocol by which these systems are supposed to connect and interact. And it specifies what needs to be implemented at the very least for all of these wrapped object systems. And then the software just interacts with the methods by making calls on those systems. And rather than using a protocol like FTP or HTTP, they're going to use a specific protocol for that system that it's based on Corba. It's Common Object Request Broker something. And Corba was designed to work in parallel, on parallel computers. So it's very, very, very efficient. It's much more efficient than XML, which Microsoft wants everybody to use. And the reason why they want XML and they don't want Corba is because Corba tells you up front what you need in order to be compliant, all the methods that you need to have implemented, and the data that gets passed through those methods for whatever it is you're trying to implement. XML doesn't. How do you determine the compliance of an XML data type? You would have to parse the data out and then extract. You would have to determine if there's anything special in the data that's that a certain system's probably not going to read in your data unless it has these certain little flavors of certain tags that you implement, certain tags. And so how can you determine the compliance with that? You would have to parse it, and then you would have to the reason why they want XML is so that they can, the good side of it is that it's easy to read and understand. It's easy for your basic human who might be using a website, who might integrate with that, that's suitable. However, it's very easy to manipulate and perverse, and that's the reason why guys at Netscape released the source code Netscape. According to the movie Revolution Oz, they said they were afraid that Microsoft would pervert the HTML standard, and the reason why they released the source code to Netscape was to enforce that there would always be a competing standard for HTML to whatever Microsoft would try to put on the table. And the thing is the only thing that's going to keep the best way of maintaining standards is to put software, even if it's not the best, put it out in the open source in the freeware world. That's going to maintain your standards, and otherwise Microsoft's going to pervert them and make them in such a way that they serve Microsoft, and you'll be buying Microsoft software, and the government will have to haul them in for an antitrust suit, But what the guy that I had worked with said the reason why telemed was why telemed failed at the Los Alamos National Labs was because the local private industry had hauled them into court and said it was competing with private industry, and the only thing that they were pushing was Excel and just basic Microsoft products. They didn't have any real solutions to the complexity of what we were dealing with, which was ID9s, biometrics, doing peer-to-peer recognition of people and clinics and hospitals, just using identifying information in fuzzy logic. And today you would probably use AI, deep learning or something to recognize the records in two systems. And HIPAA compliance is really just to keep that information out of the hands of insurance companies. The government created HIPAA regulations just to keep people from to keep insurance companies from knowing about your health care, because if they did, then they would want to up your premiums. They would treat you unfairly. And so HIPAA compliance there were two parts to HIPAA compliance. One was that if you don't have a digital system or digital integration peer-to-peer, if you're not using untrusted networks and stuff like that and trying to do things securely, that you can use paper records, and so everybody uses paper records, that those paper records don't fall into the hand of insurance companies. But if you go the digital route, that there be adequate amounts of security, certification, verification, validation of the people that are involved, and ample amount of logging and records of information of who accessed what and what went where and everything like that. And nobody wants to implement it because it sounds very complex, but it really is not that complex. And they were implementing it at the labs, and the capitalistic, private industry view of the government is that they're inefficient. That's the reason why they want people to not pay too much taxes, that they see the government as this big old institution that becomes more, it increases the amount of bureaucracy and is fairly inefficient because of the bureaucracy. The labs became inefficient because they did apply bureaucracy to the labs, and that's what happens whenever people are concerned about the safety of something like the laboratory, so that they'll increase the amount of administrative staff, and that will actually make things slower. And the scientists over the years have said we can't get any real work done because there's just too much administrative people and tiger teams, people that guarantee that you're doing everything securely and correct. You remember that one time that they lost a piece of information? They thought they lost some special stuff at the lab, and people were all up in arms, and it made the news, and they were worried that, what happened was they failed to use a few of the identifying stickers on some of their equipment, and because of that of failure to keep on top of the IDs, the sticker IDs that they were giving on the stuff, that made it the case that they had lost something. It's still, they brought everybody together to try to train them to learn how to deal with confidential or what is it? How to deal with confidential stuff. Stuff that they're not supposed to get out in the world, and that would threaten our freedom or threaten our security or something. But anyhow, telemed was doing pretty well, and then private industry comes along and kicks their butt and says, you're competing with us and we're losing customers to you, which is a bunch of BS. And those idiots prevented you from getting a good, well-integrated, peer-to-peer pandemic following system across the board that could be used to track COVID. And as a result, the only way they're able to track COVID now is in a very, can it actually be well integrated? Can you really track records? Do you have a real a cradle to grave record of every person in America? Can you do it for illegals? Can you do it across the national lines to other institutions in other countries? Is their procedures going to mean the same thing as our procedures? Are you going to have to do some procedures translation? They were working all of that at Lano, but private industry steps in and rears its ugly head and thinks that it's top gun on everything, and they don't realize just how much less they know, and are less concerned because they're all driven by greed and an intent to do well for themselves. They don't care about anybody else. And we saw what private industry did in China. It's the reason why you can't get an Oculus Quest 2, a Quest 1, is because they had Uyghurs working on, and Oculus was implicit. They were complicit in having these Uyghurs, or these people who the Chinese had locked up and made them enslaved to create special technology. So my Quest 1 was probably made by slaves, by religious slaves that the Chinese government wanted to quiet, to hush, to eliminate their presence. But we went over there thinking that we were bringing democracy, but the reality is the government, the Chinese government was holding back about $19.5 trillion from the Chinese, and the Chinese, their own money was floating about $500 billion altogether. And so we weren't bringing them democracy. The government was actually killing off billionaires. If they ever found somebody that would get billionaire status, they would instantly kill them off. We got billionaires hanging out, that Chinese billionaires hanging out in America that are trying to, that we're trying to keep out of the hands of China. But that's who we're dealing with, is China. But what gave China all that amount of power and control? Private industry. Private industry that didn't want to pay the taxes, didn't want to bestow people the rights of, that people need in order to be unstressed and to be successful, they exploited people, and they did not honor any of our labor laws while in China. That's my assumption, but I believe it to be the case. They didn't pay taxes to us. They went over to China and they passed over. This is well known that there were people that were passing over trade secrets for special treatment by the Chinese government, to which the Chinese government would give them access to more resources. But by giving up the trade secrets, the Chinese, you've heard that thing in the Bible that says, don't give your pearls before swine, lest they come and trample you. That's exactly what they did with the Chinese. They gave them the pearls of wisdom that they had of what they were making, and the government was going to turn around and develop their own technology and products and turn around and trample America. And so, all in the name of greed. Now, money is not the root of all evil. Greed is the root of all evil. Money is the lifeblood by which everybody is able to survive. We need money in order to buy the things we need in order to survive. But when somebody hoards money, the love of money is the root of all evil, not money. So that lyric to that famous Pink Floyd song is wrong. They said money, so they say, which is to say that they knew that it wasn't money, that it was the love of money, but that didn't really sound good in the song. So they say money, so they say, is the root of all evil today, and it isn't. It's the love of money. It's placing money before God. I came to the realization today that to hold back truth is placing yourself as an idol before God. Because God is truth. God is good. God is truth. The Word is the truth. If you hold back truth, because it says don't hold back good or truth. If you hold back truth, then you're putting yourself on a pedestal before God. You're becoming kind of the intercessor between you and somebody else, and God. So you're like playing Pope John Paul. You're up there, you're in place, and you're hiding the fact that you've got all of these priests over here that have been molesting children. He's holding back the truth from you. He's an idol before you and God. Okay? But anybody can do it. All you have to do is just hold back truth. And that's the end of this video.